Every
Oke, selamat sore teman-teman semuanya. Welcome to Market Coin Channel. Thank you for having with us, Bro Cipta.
thank you.
Really appreciate your weekend and your time. So hari ini kita kedatangan kita punya special guest teman-teman ya. I think I have introduced juga di some of my channel juga. So buat teman-teman yang mungkin belum mengenal Bro Cipta, jadi hari ini kita diskusi mengenai NFT Talks ya. So I think a lot of people sekarang juga banyak mau belajar tentang NFT gitu dan I think Indonesia is pretty catching up ya menuju NFT adoption. Dan kebetulan kali ini saya bisa ketemu dengan Cipta, bisa kenal Cipta itu juga bisa from friends of friends gitu kan, jadinya dari kumpul teman-teman NFT jadinya bisa berkenalan. That's the beauty about the digital world gitu ya, dengan adanya ini community is very strong. So just a quick background buat teman-teman yang mungkin belum kenal Cipta. Cipta merupakan cucu dari Pak Ci ya. I believe all of you kenal dengan Pak Ci ya, karena background saya juga orang Surabaya. So of course I definitely kenal banget dengan sosok seorang Pak Ci Putra, merupakan pengusaha yang cukup dibanggakan untuk Indonesia. Dan beliau juga tidak hanya sebagai pengusaha yang prominent, tapi dia juga termasuk salah satu art collector yang terbesar di Indonesia juga. Gitu ya. Nah ini yang menarik, the third generation yang dari Bro Cipta ini lebih ke NFT collector gitu kan. Dan itu yang kita coba belajar bareng, dig further, apa yang membedakan nanti dan bagaimana NFT itu bisa bring a lot of transformation to Indonesia economy or society gitu ya. So without further ado, mungkin the floor is yours, Cipta. Perhaps mungkin boleh perkenalan dulu mungkin bagaimana how you start your journey di NFT, mungkin apa yang bring you to NFT dan apa yang attract kita bisa tertarik di NFT.
Sure. Terima kasih. Thank you for a very lovely introduction. Jadi mungkin I'll go from the start karena actually banyak teman-teman yang mengira itu saya lumayan early ya di crypto. Aslinya that's not true at all. Coming from a financial background justru lebih susah ya transisi ke crypto karena justru kan kayak apa ya? Obviously coming from a financial background justru lebih soft menurut saya karena dari kayak crypto mah banyak ponzi-nya nih. Banyak game of musical chair-nya gitu kan. Banyak gambling-nya, returns-nya luar biasa gitu kan. Jadi actually saya salah satu yang paling telat sih. I think it took me a lot of humility juga to admit that crypto itu sesuatu yang mungkin bisa menjadi real. Jadi actually saya baru masuk crypto itu bulan Februari 2021. So it's only a few months ago. I remember February was like pertama kali saya beli mulai beli Bitcoin sama Ethereum. And I have a very conservative, my strategy is always very conservative. Jadi karena my strategy is always very conservative, crypto has always been sesuatu yang on the side. Tapi kalau mau beli juga belinya cuma Bitcoin sama Ethereum gitu kan. Abis itu obviously Februari sampai Maret, April gitu kan, boom banget. Nggak tahu kenapa kok semuanya 2 kali lipat ya, semuanya kok 3 kali lipat ya. Gampang banget nih bikin make money gitu ya, rupanya salah nih. Nggak masuk kripto udah lama gitu kan, baru masuknya sekarang, rasanya kok telat banget. Tapi obviously it didn't last. Jadi saya main, I touch DeFi a little bit, tapi I touch DeFi bukan to make money, mostly just to learn. Pengen belajar farming segala macam gitu kan, loans, unsecured loans, secured loans, whatever it is, saya cobain sih semua di crypto, all the way until maybe April or May. Habis itu when the market started to, crash. Jadi market started to crash di bulan April mungkin, and I'm very thankful. Ada teman saya, who's actually my mentor and a very good mate of mine. I say that he's my mentor karena benar dia yang ajarin gue soal NFT lah dari awal. Namanya Evan Tan, mungkin banyak teman-teman juga kenal. He's also sangat famous ya di Twitter, namanya Evan Tan juga. And he introduced me to the world of NFTs. Obviously dia udah lama nih coba introduce me ke dunia NFT sejak dia karena udah mulai dari tahun lalu mungkin ya. Tapi I was very skeptical. Habis itu gue pernah, I remember the first NFT project yang he made me buy, itu apa ya namanya? Crypto Gogos. Pokoknya udah mati. At that time, itu tuh waktu itu lagi 3.500 gitu, jadi mahal banget. Dia bilang, udahlah lu coba aja mint, berapa deh? Gue bilang, oke, gue mint deh, berapa? 4. I think harganya kayak 0,1 each atau 0,12 each. Jadi total kayak 0,5 gitu kan, which is not bad, which is quite a bit of money at that time. Harus coba kan. Abis mint, nggak laku. Secondary marketnya nggak ada satupun yang kejual. So that was like, okay, you know what, NFTs isn't for me. Ini so illiquid, volume nggak ada. And kayaknya, you know, it's apa ya? There's no fundamentals. It's almost like a scam. Gitu kan. Tapi I was very lucky karena di bulan April when ETH was coming down, I think from 4,000 to 3,300, gue emang dari dulu demen banget Twitter, walaupun gue nggak pernah nge-tweet, gue cuma ngikutin orang aja. Twitter has always been my number one source of information lah. Gue selalu, Instagram gue emang gue nggak pernah buka, gue selalu bukanya Twitter dari awal, walaupun gue nggak pernah nge-tweet. Gitu kan, jadi gue udah mulai lihat-lihat, habis itu ada satu project yang waktu itu hot, namanya Bored Ape Yacht Club. Bored Ape Yacht Club itu mulai hot. Habis itu untungnya anak gue tuh paling demen sama monyet. Dia tuh kayak his favorite animal. His favorite animal was waktu itu his favorite animal was monyet deh. At that time everything was monkey, everything was monyet. So I was like, aduh boleh deh sekali lagi deh gue coba deh. Abis itu karena teman gue ini, my mentor and my friend, Evan Tan, he had a few. Dia hoki banget, dia kayak mid 12 atau 15, abis itu semuanya rare lah. Keren banget deh pokoknya. Gue bilang, gue juga mau ikutan deh. I didn't mint, karena tiba-tiba sold out. Gue coba cari-cari di secondary market. At that time, Bored Ape Yacht Club, floor itu cuma 0,3.
Oh my god,
0,3. Gue waktu beli itu, gue juga, wah beli nggak ya ini monyet nih ape ya. Gue mulai nyari-nyari dong. And as usual, kita kan ya orang businessman lah, we try to find good deals gitu kan. Kita nggak mau beli yang floor, kita nggak mau beli yang biasaan aja. Kita mau carinya yang gimana sih caranya cari Bored Ape Yacht Club nih yang lumayan rare tapi harganya bagus gitu. Habis itu gue cari-cari kan online. Habis itu rupanya ada tools yang tentunya semua orang yang main di NFT sekarang udah kenal. Namanya Rarity.tools. Itu kan membantu kita lihat, kita cari NFT mana yang rare, yang mana yang common gitu kan. Nggak perlu sampai ada sistem rankingnya. Dulu, Rarity.tools tuh nggak kayak gini. Rarity.tools tuh dulu jauh lebih apa ya? Jauh lebih, ya masih tahap awal-awal lah. Masih draftnya dari sekarang lah. Sekarang kan filternya udah keren, sortnya udah keren ya. Pada saat itu sih, Rarity.tools tuh benar-benar cuma ada 1-2 project CryptoPunk sama Bored Ape Yacht Club. Habis itu nggak bisa filter, nggak bisa sort. Benar-benar setiap kali tuh harus refresh pages gitu. Simple banget. And I was really lucky. I saw tiba-tiba gue lihat ada satu ape ranking 35. Harganya 2 ETH. Padahal gue lihat the first 5 pages, berarti kayak the first 500 ETH, semuanya harganya kayak 2 ETH, yang 0,3 tuh ranking belakang. Jadi gue ambil resiko di hari itu. Gue beli ranking 35 ETH yang harganya 2 ETH, terus gue beli. Terus gue gila, I just spent 100 million, man. on a JPEG, bro. Gue juga awal-awal, wah gila banget. Gue at that time belum ada, NFT kan baru banget ya, April. Gak ada yang punya JPEG gitu kan, wah gue gila deh. Tapi gue happy banget, karena gue waktu ke Discord-nya Bored Ape, semua orang bilang, wah, you got such a good deal, man. I'm like, okay, I got a good deal, right? Abis gue lihat listingnya semuanya 10 ETH, yang sekitar mirip-mirip lah. Gue bilang, oke, gue cuan banget. Gue coba ngelist deh, 10 ETH, nggak ada yang ambil. Gue list 8 ETH, nggak ada yang ambil juga, mampus. Abis itu Bored Ape mulai turun malah floor-nya. Pelan-pelan turun, wah, mampus deh. Gue bilang, oke deh, gue list 4 ETH. 4 ETH beli dalam waktu 1 minggu setelah gue beli. Jadi gue untung 100 juta. Lumayan, gue kayak, wah ini this becoming the real thing gitu kan. I got my profits and I thought I should, leave the NFT space. Tapi untungnya I stayed around. I bought like apes here and there, masih beli jual ya. Tapi that ape that I sold yang ranking 35 is on auction right now on Sotheby's.
Kemana?
25th of October. The exact same ape ya. Ape yang gue punya. Kalau lu lihat di chain-nya tuh cuman cipta, kejual ke namanya PTX langsung jual ke Sotheby's.
Coba kita lihat ya. What number ape-nya?
I think it'll sell for 300 ETH ya. In my opinion.
Bentar. Coba gue ini share ya. Biar teman-teman lain.
Yeah,
number berapa?
It's number 4418. It's
44
a 4-trade laser eye ape.
4418. Oh, yang laser eye.
Yeah, it's a laser eye 4-trade. Ranking 35 on Rarity itu.
This one?
Ya, itu terakhir kejual 4.
Oh, iya.
Paper hands.
Iya, paper hands. Banyak gitu, ada my friend juga. I think you know juga kan, Ferdi. Waktu itu juga dia.
Oh iya.
Cool Cats-nya banyak kejual waktu di bawah juga. Tapi untungnya dia masih keep, bro. Gila.
Wah, Cool Cats juga udah baik. Every flip was a bad flip lah, basically. But yeah, that's how I started in NFTs. Jadi I started with just curious, hoki banget. Nothing to do with skill, to be honest. I was just at the right place, right time. I had a good friend who was into NFTs. My kid likes apes. Monyet gitu kan. Habis itu, so I bought as a hobby, and thankfully I stayed around. Jadi gue masih tentunya since then I think I've owned like maybe more than maybe 10 apes. Mungkin gue udah jual beli, maybe more, I don't know, maybe more than 10 apes actually, maybe 15. Gue udah jual beli terus, tapi again every flip was a bad flip.
Yeah.
Every flip was a bad flip. Ya, abis itu baru gue mulai explore NFT yang lain.
Okay. That's a very interesting brief of background ya, your journey NFT. Nah, jadi tapi again banyak orang kan juga think about the same ya. It's a JPEG asset, it's a JPEG dude, selalu gitu kan. Come on, it doesn't make sense. Tapi do you think memang NFT ini sudah bisa dikategorize as asset class nggak ya, in your view?
Yeah, my view aslinya NFT is more of a luxury good, a luxury good that is a status symbol. Jadi maksud gue itu kan kayak seperti unfortunately, I'm not into luxury goods. Gue nggak ada barang mahal. But I can imagine kalau punya jam gitu kan. It's why are watches so expensive? Because it's a luxury good ya. Asli kan orang bisa bilang utility-nya keren segala macam. Kan tapi come on, like actually jam yang mahal, jam yang murah, atau kayak Garmin. I have a Garmin. Pasti utility-nya mungkin more than a Patek or Rolex gitu kan. But why is Rolex or Patek so expensive? Obviously karena it's a status symbol. It's a luxury good. Jadi gue lihatnya NFT itu persis sama dengan itu. NFT itu adalah luxury good. People want it and people want to show it off. Enaknya kalau jam itu harus di show off kalau ketemuan gitu kan. Kalau ketemu baru bisa kita kasih lihat. Kalau JPEG kita bisa show off kapan aja online, especially kalau JPEG itu adalah JPEG yang profile picture. Bangga kan? Wah, gue bagian dari Bored Ape Yacht. Nih, gue cuma ada 10.000 yang punya yang punya juga orang-orang terkenal. Steve Aoki punya, Stephen Curry punya, banyak OG di kripto juga punya. Wah, gue juga pengen punya deh. Kalau gue punya, gue bisa show off nih ke orang-orang lain. Kira-kira gitu sih. Jadi gue lebih lihatnya NFT itu sebagai status symbol.
I see. So, then tapi kalau misalnya kayak some of the luxury goods ini kan sebenarnya berarti the more premium, the upper class itu lebih bisa jadi something yang more investable ya. Just like the watch gitu kan. Jadi do you think utility itu jadi kan memang di dunia NFT sekarang kalau kita lihat kan ada dua, I would segregate into two key use case gitu ya. First is more like an art, second is more like utility gitu kan. So in your view itu kalau buat orang-orang awam gitu ya, kalau they want to try to enter into NFT market, itu which one do you think yang lebih important ya between the art and the utility?
Yeah, I'm still trying to understand the concept of utility as well. Maksud gue begini, kalau art itu simple banget ya, it's a luxury good, people want it because people can enjoy seeing it, also people enjoy showing it off, gitu kan. I mean, most of the time yang kita call utility in the NFT space is actually also the same thing. Misalnya cyberconks. You know, a lot of people like to say, oh itu utility-nya keren. Ya kan, lu bisa dapat banana, gitu kan. Habis itu banana itu bisa dapat, lu bisa breed, lu bisa dapat dari cyberconks VX, lu bisa dapat baby conks. And that's very cool, ya kan. Tapi actually, why do people want a cyberconks VX in the first place? Ya kan? Kenapa orang mau baby conks? Itu orang mau baby. Kenapa banana ada value? At the end of the day, up until right now, the only reason why the banana has value is because people want the baby conks. People want the cyberconks VX. Why do they want that? Ya karena ada luxury good feelingnya juga gitu, you know. People want to show off their baby conks. People want to show off their cyberconks VX. Utility dari NFT space yang as we know now, itu actually utility-nya belum terdiscover dengan baik ya. Tentunya nanti yang benar-benar yang merasa seperti utility kan nanti kalau udah benar-benar masuk ke gaming ya. Tapi kalau yang dimaksud oleh utility sekarang, I'm not sure if it's utility or it's like a way to spawn more luxury goods.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Some friends juga ada interesting statement in his view itu. Kalau seperti Punk and DIYC itu kan lebih not driven by utility ya, tapi lebih ke factor art and mungkin the social statusnya ya. Dan itu over the longer term jauh lebih sustain dan lebih solid dibandingin dibandingin NFT yang driven by utility. That's dia punya interesting view.
Yeah, you know, for me, actually even Bored Ape juga always trying to provide utility, whether they call it utility atau roadmap or whatever. The only so far, jadi I always feel yang benar-benar truly benar-benar truly statusable and benar-benar amazing as it is, itu hanya CryptoPunk. Karena CryptoPunk itu kan not only do people want it because it's a luxury good, tapi they don't have to do any more marketing to make it better. Makanya they don't provide more utility gitu kan. Karena they feel like ini ada historical significance ya. It's valuable because people want it, sure, tapi juga karena ada historical significance ya. If you study the history of NFTs, CryptoPunk is not the first. It's just one of the first. Tapi di awal-awal marketingnya so good that it's the first, sampai orang benar-benar percaya it's the first.
I see.
Ya kan? Tapi because of that, CryptoPunk itu orang mau banget karena it's irreplaceable. Kalau even Bored Ape ya, bisa aja kayak let's say sekarang kan banyak orang Indonesia mau coba make their own NFTs ya, ya kan? Bisa aja mereka bikin NFT yang keren banget, artnya bagus banget gitu ya, habis sampai ngalahin Bored Ape Yacht Club. Bisa aja sih. Ya kan? Siapa tahu karena utility-nya lebih bagus, roadmap-nya lebih bagus, funding-nya mungkin lebih besar. Ya kan, they can grab even bigger artists maybe one day. Jadi kalau Bored Ape kan masih bisa, rasanya they have to do something continuously to provide value and to give relevance supaya the market remembers and selalu ingat bahwa Bored Ape Yacht Club itu exist. Tapi kalau CryptoPunk kan there's no marketing whatsoever. Ini benar-benar Larva Labs basic kayak I rug pull. Gue rakpul, gue udah tinggalin nih barangnya as it is, gue udah rakpul, gue udah cabut. You value whatever you want, and that's what it is. And people want it just because it has historical significance and it's a pure luxury good. And you can almost say that the luxury good is decentralized because who provides the value is not the developer, tapi it's up to the owners. Ya kan? Tergantung ownersnya mau provide value buat CryptoPunk.
Tapi kalau in your view, dulu CryptoPunk itu yang yang bikin benar-benar naik itu lebih karena apa ya? Apa is it the moment itu mulai dari gara-gara is it the visa atau
No, crypto kan sudah lama ya, dari tahun 2017 atau dari
benar?
tahun 2018. And it was claimed for free, ya kan? Siapa aja bisa ngeklaim gitu. Oh, and the price didn't go up until 2020. Baru tahun lalu yang harganya mulai naik. Sebelum itu sih harganya rendah banget ya. If you look at it was only when NFTs were found, orang-orang mulai mau apa ya? People want to own NFTs, baru mulai, wait a minute, let's try to look for one that's valuable, that's been there for a while, and people think it's the first. And that was CryptoPunks, right? So people thought that was the first, people mulai percaya it's the first NFT that is valuable outside of people, yeah. So it is what it is.
Tapi ini yang menarik juga mungkin yang banyak orang ada some of the skepticism gitu ya, bro. Some people juga selalu mikir, which is I disagree, but I don't know, I just want to get clarification or perhaps your different second opinion gitu ya. Banyak orang berpikir bahwa ini juga NFT digoreng juga sama orang-orang kalangan atas gitu kan. Tapi yang menarik itu kan what I learned justru di dunia kripto ini kan justru memang orang-orang banyak kayak ibaratnya karena ini kripto ini kan the greatest era of transfer wealth gitu kan. Banyak orang yang dari bawah mendadak juga kaya gitu loh. Jadi ya dan orang-orang yang ini ya namanya juga as you said tadi namanya juga luxury goods. Jadi ya suka-suka mereka gitu kan. Bukan not necessarily dari baby boomers yang goreng ke atas kan sebenarnya. Actually it's just orang-orang yang memang early adopter di crypto yang memang ya udah they make a lot of money and then they just try to enjoy and make it more and more luxury.
Yeah, it's super interesting that you say that. Karena actually, okay, first of all, karena I have friends on Twitter, and aduh gila teman-teman gue yang di Twitter yang kaya-kaya tuh rupanya umur 16, umur 18, umur 20, man. Gila gue kayak, I mean, like they did so well for themselves, tapi they are risk takers, maybe because they're young, mungkin bonyoknya kasih dia $2,000 gitu kan, habis itu dia mulai main-mainin, so very big risk takers, and they end up doing very well for themselves. Jadi there's very obviously not rich people lah, yang obviously ada lah yang kaya-kaya, tapi transfer of wealth is definitely true.
Yeah.
But I would like to point out, goreng is definitely exists, right?
Yes.
Nggak mungkin nggak exist lah.
Nggak mungkin nggak exist, benar.
Nggak mungkin. I mean, obviously pump and dumpers are out there. That's why, I mean, kalau lagi minggu-minggu kemarin waktu lagi hot-hotnya kan, it's very unfortunate to be a new guy. Kalau lu baru masuk ke NFT, lu nggak biasa lihat all these pumpers yang jago nge-tweet, yang kayak nge-tweetnya bikin thread, harus bikin harga, jago banget ya mereka bikin FOMO gitu kan. Everybody's gonna fall for that, right? I fall for that all the time. Iya kan? Tapi rupanya karena dia barangnya banyak, atau mungkin temennya barangnya banyak, habis itu dia siap dump kalau lebih tinggi. Obviously yang goreng banyak lah. Jadi it's both. Yang goreng definitely ada. Tapi transfer of wealth juga.
Yeah. Agree. Yeah, I think memang dari zaman dulu juga kalau nggak ada goreng-menggoreng juga nggak ada excitement sih di market. Just flat, you can imagine.
Gitu ya?
Just flat, iya kan. Dan makanya kadang aku juga bingung dulu, aku juga pernah kalau ketemu one of people yang art collector, percuma ngapain mana itu digoreng bang. Tapi gue bilang bukannya dunia art lu juga digoreng.
Iya, exactly.
Just the same lah, cuma different ini aja. Orang kadang susah terima.
Iya.
Kalau misalnya nih, since you're in the crypto, into NFT, dan ini kan sebenarnya memang bisa dibilang kan NFT lebih less liquid ya. But even the blockchain, everything jadi at least nggak separah kayak conventional art yang benar-benar nggak liquid gitu kan. At least ini kan ada marketnya open ya, kayak mereka ada marketplace-nya. Dan kalau kita lihat kan transaction-nya lumayan. Jadi, do you think apa yang menurut yang membedakan permainan di dunia kripto sendiri dengan lebih paper? tadi kalau
Ya,
dengar kan lebih lumayan ya, sempat trade beberapa kali trade.
ya, actually jadi menurut menurut gua tuh kalau untuk yang art yang benar-benar art, we art in NFTs kan there's so many categories and somebody who's new will have to study all of them kan. Obviously yang paling kita lihat adalah PFPs, profile pictures, right? Ada 10.000 of them. Right, tapi there's so much categories outside that. Right, one of the thing that's revolutionary sebelum profile picture itu generated art by art blocks. Right, jadi saya tuh selalu bilang, aslinya PFPs itu always comes second from generative art yang dari art blocks. Karena actually the term of trades ada 20 trade gitu kan, di mix, using computer science, using code, and then using probability, and you get what the profile picture that you get. That comes second after generative art of art blocks. So it's second to that, yeah. Obviously there's profile pictures, there's generative arts. For those of you who are new, you have to take a look at it. Artblocks.io kan banyak banget. Obviously the most famous ones are the Ringer, Fidenza, and all that. Ya kan. Habis itu ada juga misalnya art yang seperti benar-benar one of one. Ya kan. Yeah, that's what we see in the real world. Actually di real world yang kita lihat, ya kan, art yang benar-benar dipajang itu adalah one of ones. One of ones artinya adalah benar-benar art didesain oleh sebuah artis, habis itu di list harganya berapa, whether it's auction lewat foundation atau benar-benar di list. So that's the actual art. Jadi gue actually not sure kalau ya ini kan Fidenza is a generative art ya. Ini juga not one of one kan. Ini kan kayak ada 1,000 Fidenza, there's 1,000 of them if I'm right. Habis itu yang itu kan yang di generate, habis itu people can buy. Tapi kan actually there's the real art. Kalau the real art itu kan you have to, misalnya kayak maybe a famous one you can open is like misalnya I don't know, Pop Wonder misalnya. You can take a look at Pop Wonder. They're one of one art. That's actually what we see in the real world. It's a one of one art.
What is the name? Pop Wonder.
Pop Wonder. POPWONDER. Di OpenSea aja bisa dilihat.
POP? Oh di OpenSea. Di OpenSea ya. Bentar, aku belum pernah.
Di Google juga harusnya bisa sih.
POP
WONDER.
Sorry. Pop Wonder ini ya.
Yeah, Pop Wonder World. Yeah, you can do that.
Oh, kalau price-nya 29.
Yeah, jadi it's real art, ya kan? That's
cute,
interesting. Yeah, so it's real art. Ini actually, jadi if you want to make a comparison, the real world sama real world art sama NFT art, actually lebih cocoknya dengan one of one. And I don't think it's more liquid than real world art. Aslinya mirip-mirip, gitu ya. It just like it's real art. If you like it, you buy it at whatever price. Mungkin ada yang jual, mungkin ada yang jual. Kalau lagi nggak ada yang jual, harus belinya harganya mahal banget. You can make open bids anytime. Obviously, there's benefits. Kalau di NFT itu kan enaknya nggak mungkin palsu, unless you don't double check.
Yeah.
Ya kan? Tapi to double check is very easy. Kalau di real world, art itu kan banyak sekali palsunya, and it's very difficult to find out which one is real. Tadi in the beginning you mentioned misalnya my family collects art. My family does collect art. One of our biggest collection itu paintingnya Hendra Gunawan.
Yeah, Hendra Gunawan.
And dulu long time ago, every Hendra Gunawan that's for sale, my grandfather would buy it. Jadi it's very hard to get one juga karena every time dia yang bakal yang beli duluan. And it's very difficult to find out what's real and what's not. Sering banget, hampir ketipu tuh sering banget, gitu ya. Sering juga misalnya kayak kita merasa it's fake, kita nggak jadi beli, habis itu dibeli orang lain, habis itu kita udah confirm bahwa it's fake, tapi the orang yang beli itu try to tell the market and the auction houses that it's real. Misalnya. And mungkin dia successful dalam convincing that it's real, tapi menurut ourselves it's fake. Obviously, something like that will not happen in the NFT space. Yeah. So it's very hard to. The provenance is I think makes a huge difference. Tapi regarding liquidity, one-of-one art is almost the same. You can take a look, actually di Pop Wonder, maybe you can take a look at last actions ya. Kalau scroll ke atas sedikit, activity.
Untuk activity
di sebelah Twitter, di sebelah Twitter. Itu. Oke, yang paling kiri. Mungkin last month kali terakhir sih. 14 hours ago. Wow, 14 hours ago ya. Transaction is very slow. And every piece has its own value.
Yeah.
So I would say one-of-one art emang mirip lah. Jadi benar-benar yang PFP yang kita lihat high volume, habis itu yang kita lihat seperti generative art, yang seperti art blocks. Volume is not as low as one-of-one, tapi it's not as high as profile picture. It almost creates a new category. I wouldn't think it's best to compare them to art in the real world. It's almost a category of itself. It's like a mix of apa ya, saham, crypto, art gitu ya. Aku juga nggak tahu. It's a new world. Tapi I'm not sure if it's art.
Soalnya sekarang yang gua perhatiin ini bro, yang menarik ya, the trend that I continue to monitor in the Discord world itu kan tadinya kan a lot of the yield farming itu kan yield farming sendiri gitu kan.
Yeah.
And then crypto mining was a crypto mining sendiri. But
sure.
Now sejak adanya itu kan sedang boomingnya Axie Infinity itu kan the trend is different karena the way they create the crypto mining itu through gaming gitu kan. Jadi lebih interaktif gitu ya. Nah, sekarang aku lihat malah a lot of yield farming pun juga dibikin lewat ke NFT gitu kan, staking, ada farming, you can auto earn. Jadi menarik gitu loh kalau gue lihat, karena at least dulu kan orang selalu bilang apa nih, gue nggak ada barangnya gitu kan, kesannya kan gitu, barangnya apa gitu kan. Itu kan conventional world, orang itu cenderung mikir, gue kan sukanya karena orang-orang dari boomers kebanyakan kan dunia, kalau dulu gue pelajari kan mereka dunianya karena dunia zaman susah ya, jadi apa-apa berhubungan dengan materi gitu, materialistik gitu kan. Jadi semuanya tuh harus dipegang, harus ada materinya dipegang. Nah, kalau gue lihat ini juga kayaknya NFT bisa dipakai kayak buat supaya convince orang ada ini loh ada barangnya itu for fun, for engagement, tapi lo bisa juga yield farming gitu, nggak sekedar yield farming gitu ya. Kalau gue lihat sih menarik.
Yeah, before I comment on the yield farming ya, gue mau comment soal materialistic ya. I think NFT itu juga still very materialistic, tapi just in a different category ya. Misalnya kan now we see misalnya kayak Facebook is changing their name to Meta, gitu kan. We don't know what the future is going to be like. We don't know what the metaverse is, whether it's going to be decentralized or is it going to be run by Facebook. Tapi imagine in a world di mana kita hidup di dunia digital lebih sering. You know, if now we spend time on social media, nantinya kita hidupnya in metaverse. Imagine, we don't have to spend there 24 hours. Let's say we spend 2 hours a day there. Okay? There's always going to be a way for you to show off your things. Ya kan? Kalau in the real world, we show off with our watches, our cars, address, misalnya alamat tinggal. So we show it off using the, I don't know what other luxury goods, bags maybe, gitu kan. Tapi in a digital world, what do you show off? It's possible that what you show off is your profile picture. It's possible. Let's say we spend time there, right? Kita benar-benar spend time there, gitu kan. What do you show off? You know, maybe it's your avatar, gitu kan. Let's say Bored Ape Yacht Club has promised that they will definitely make an avatar for a Bored Ape of any future metaverse, right? And you can see which Bored Ape Yacht Club's avatar is real or not. Ya kan? Imagine in a world where what you show off is your profile picture or your avatar, and then hopefully, if you say it that way, maybe the baby boomers will understand a little bit more that it's not actually very new, the concept, but you start to think like, what is the most expensive, what is the most valuable status symbol worth in a digital world? And now we start thinking, wow, kalau in the real world, what do you show off? The most expensive thing is a yacht, right? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So the real world, what do you show off? The most valuable thing that you show off is like, I don't know, traveling and where you stay and how much you spend on your house gitu kan.
Yeah.
Now you start to think maybe a status symbol in the NFT world can be much more valuable even in comparison to today's prices, which is already insane.
Correct.
That's what I want to comment regarding materialism. And then regarding yield farming, gue still on that camp where gue masih belum convinced yield farming is real. Gue masih in that camp where I yield farm all the time, but I know it's a Ponzi. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It is a Ponzi kalau gue lihat. Cuma banyak orang mungkin yang a lot of people yang don't understand the good things about the blockchain can make your Ponzi itu become more sustainable karena you can putar terus itu barang.
Jadi I don't know what to say about that. Jadi I know some people kayak sedikit anti banget kalau ada don't call my things Ponzi, man. It's not.
Yeah.
You know what I actually want to comment the other way around. I said just admit it's Ponzi and be part of it, and it's okay. Gitu kan?
Itu kayak ibaratnya gini sih bro. Kalau yang gampang bahasa yang dicerna sama orang itu kayak kadang orang nggak suka dibilang goreng gitu kan.
Iya.
Suka dibilang goreng. Tapi ada yang suka bilang, oh ini market making mechanism.
Price discovery.
Ya itu sama aja gitu kan basically. Cuma ya.
Exactly.
Kan banyak sebenarnya di dunia ini ada yang putih dan hitam lah. Kalau orang Ponzi selalu mengasosiasikan dengan sesuatu yang dunia hitam gitu, sama dengan kayak goreng gitu kan. Bisa diasosiasikan dengan sesuatu yang bad things gitu lah. Nah, ini juga sama sebenarnya ya. Kalau kita ngomong kan sebenarnya dulu aku juga pernah bahas juga sih Ponzi ya. Basically in our life we live with Ponzi in every aspect of our life. Cuma yang membedakan Ponzi itu gagal atau nggak gagal ya karena ada orang yang jahat kemudian dia kabur and then boom the party is over gitu. Tapi ada yang memang orang itu dia kerjanya benar maka memiliki sustainable terus dia nggak bisa ada kena krisis, kemudian dia hutang lagi, terus bisa dibenerin kerjanya benar, ya itu jadi sustainable gitu.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, justru it's much healthier if you admit what it is. Yield farming, whether it's crypto or NFT, just say it is a Ponzi and it can fall at any time. Kalau semua orang mulai cabut ya, pasti mulai jatuh gitu kan. Just be aware of the risk, right? Look, it's a Ponzi. Be aware of the risk. If you don't want to join, it's fine. If you want to get out, it's fine. If you want to just play musical chairs, get in and buy and sell early, it's your right too, you know. Tapi at least lebih mending
kita ngerti dulu the risk,
supaya kita tahu risikonya, gitu kan. Jangan ini Ponzi tapi kita pura-pura it's gonna last forever.
Okay. So tadi related dengan, do you think yang menarik ini NFT itu in your view bisa replace atau becoming a threat nggak to the conventional art world gitu ya?
Nggak sih.
Kalau
jadi seperti one of one itu still very not but one of one is still as I've told you, as I've shared, masih volumenya still very small ya. I think the biggest threat is actually how we live our life in the future, which is in my opinion uncertain. Which is the same case that I go through every day as a real estate developer. We develop malls, it's like hotels and all that. I mean, the thing that's at the back of our mind is what will the future be like? How much time will you spend in, like, let's say there is a metaverse? How much time will you spend in a metaverse each day? And whether later on you will have your prized possession into the metaverse instead of in real life. And obviously that will change whether you would like to have your art hang on a wall or you would like to hang your art hanging still in a wall but inside the universe, inside the metaverse ya. Jadi I think kalau metaverse gagal sih there's no threat. cuman ya. Habis sekarang NFT kan show off-nya not to the people in real life ya. Kayak gue punya NFT juga gue nggak show off-nya ke teman-teman gue yang nggak ngerti gitu. I can't, I show it off to random people on Twitter that gue nggak kenal, tapi they know what I'm talking about.
Yes. Yeah. Tapi kadang kalau ngomong kayak tadi bilang profile pic, status symbol itu selalu juga ada orang kan skeptisnya karena ini kan JPEG asset bro, bisa gampang di copy aja, orang bisa copy anytime and then they just put it on the profile pic gitu kan.
Ya.
So selalu bilang ya, why should I buy that much gitu kan?
Ya, gue sih selalu jawabnya it's exact same thing as if like you have Mona Lisa gitu ya. You can pajang Mona Lisa. I don't think it's illegal, right, to print the exact replica of Mona Lisa and then like even pajang it in your hotel or in your house. Pajang aja, tapi everybody knows it's fake.
Yeah, everybody knows
right? Because they know the real one is in Louvre, gitu kan? I think it's a very similar thing, NFTs. It's like, kayak I always don't mind kalau orang mau misalnya pakai CryptoPunk gue atau Bored Ape gue sebagai profile picture, I say it's okay, it's fine. Tapi kalau walletnya dicek, dia tahu lah itu ACP gue gitu kan.
Ya kayak orang kayak tadi lah pakai jam tangan gitu lah ya, jam tangannya mau pakai palsu ya silakan, tapi orang yang ngerti juga tahu.
Iya. It's easier to check. Kalau jam tangan kan mungkin it looks similar, susah lah dicek. Mungkin unless you're expert ya. Kalau ini kan tinggal kayak a few clicks juga langsung.
Klik. Oke.
Iya. Kemarin I saw somebody using a CryptoPunk on their Instagram. Terus orang Indo, kayak wow, gue mau pengen kenalan nih, karena the CryptoPunk community is very close to one another, right? Jadi it was very easy for me to check, kayak ini CryptoPunk-nya punya siapa, bener orang Indo bukan? At least I want to know. Dia walletnya apa? Rupanya I found out that the traits of the CryptoPunk that he was wearing itu doesn't exist. Ya kan, there's no such thing. There's no CryptoPunk with that hat, with that eyes, with that.
Ya banyak. Gitu. Right. Ada yang create beberapa CryptoPunk bikinan sendiri, not a real CryptoPunk.
So it's pretty easy to check these things.
Ya. Oke. By the way, kalau teman-teman ada yang mau tanya, kalau nggak berasa daripada gue ngobrol sendiri, feel free ya. Kalau ada yang mau tanya, you can raise your hand, nanti mungkin aku bikin audio. Ini ada teman-teman kita udah pada komen-komen.
Ini lucu banget ya, ada Chef Arnold nih komentar soal banana nih. I mean, menurut gue sih cybercoins, even if it's a Ponzi, it might last forever. Maksudnya kayak yang bikin tuh kayak terlalu pinter gitu ya, kayak sekarang bikin Kong Tank itu mah udah.
Iya. It's a brilliant Coco Bear.
Iya, maksudnya kayak wow, he's so smart bisa think of such thing.
So, do you think ini to my last question related to our topics today is it too early to tell bahwa NFT ini udah bisa transform our Indonesia economy or our society nggak ya? Gitu.
Wah, itu gua nggak tahu ya. That's a very deep question. How it transforms the society today. I do see the biggest utility for NFTs is provenance, and it's not actually art. Jadi kayak how do you make sure that misalnya kayak art, let's say all existing physical art itu semua comes with an NFT. So if an artist wants to sell an art, they sell it with an existing NFT, like a token. Gitu kan, it doesn't have to be an NFT, it can just be a token or whatever it is. Tapi kan jadi ketahuan which art is real and which art is not, ya kan? And it has to do with collateral, it has to do with insurance, it has to do with other things, gitu kan? Kalau you do want to put that art as collateral, atau you want to insure the art, it's much easier to double check. So I think the greatest tool of NFTs in the future will be provenance, and obviously pasti it affects the whole world in a sense, where you'll know whether physical goods are fake or not.
But do you think is it something yang relevant nggak sih? A lot of some of let's say company itu, do you think, let's say for example, let's say your group gitu ya, your family business group, do you think you're gonna make an NFT one day? Or let's say for example terakhir KFC gitu ya, you think memang perlu nggak sih some of this company itu memang corporate itu bikin NFT?
Gue mungkin too short-sighted. I'm sure somebody will be more creative than me and think of ways how to do it. Tapi gue personally belum bisa lihat ke sana. Kalau dari segi artnya ya, misalnya kayak karena kan the goal itu kan the goal is always marketing and the goal is promotion, gitu kan?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure getting people to buy your NFT, abis itu bayar mahal, gitu kan? They own your NFT will actually help my business in selling houses or help any other businesses sell their products. One cool thing is yang I saw somebody did. I think who was it? Yeah. I think it was Budweiser. Was it Budweiser? They bought an NFT. They bought 2 NFTs, I think. First, they bought an ENS. Do you know what an ENS is?
No.
Yeah. ENS is, you know how let's say my address is gypcity.e, gitu kan? And ENS is that address. I think they bought an address called beer.e, misalnya. They bought it for like quite expensive, 20 ETH or something, and it made the news. And I'm still a lot of like crypto people, NFT people, it's like, wow, gue bakal minum bir itu deh. Karena mereka forward looking banget gitu, mereka udah beli wallet yang namanya beer.e gitu kan. I think something like that is obviously good, trying to get the NFT community to buy it.
Is it this one?
Yes, exactly. Budweiser, right? Yeah, so they bought an ENS. They bought, ada 2 kan ENS yang dia beli, Beyond Beer, beer.e is trying to show.
Ya, gue pernah ngeliat ini maksudnya apa sih? Gue gak ngerti ini beer.e.
Itu jadi your address, bro. Kalau misalnya misalnya you can make an address namanya herman.e, let's say. Orang kalau mau transfer duit lewat MetaMask, gue nggak harus input wallet lo. Gue tinggal inputnya herman.e.
Oh, okay.
So it's an address for your jadi you own the what is it, the ENS, and automatically it's connected to your address, so that when I send you stuff, you can use that as the address instead.
So yang live ini adalah the NFT gitu ya?
Kalau yang itu, there's at one point ada this artist, real world artist namanya Tom Sachs. They did a series of different NFTs, and people loved it. At one point, the volume was very high, and the prices are very high. I think even right now, prices are still pretty high. And they made one on a beer, and the beer was Budweiser. Habis itu, Budweiser, instead of suing them or copyrights, malahan beli. And belinya waktu itu mahal banget.
Iya, ini 30 ETH ya?
Iya, dia beli beer.eth-nya 30 ETH. Kalau Tom
Sachs,
aku nggak tahu deh.
Ini jadi yang beer.eth ini ada orang bikin wallet address for beer.eth, and then they just sell it as an NFT gitu.
Ya, jadi kayak actually banyak orang, ada some people yang kerjanya tuh kayak seperti apa ya? Mereka tuh kayak bukan calo ya, tapi mereka kayak get all the famous cool naming ENS, habis itu beli-beliin aja. Habis itu kan kalau bikin pertama kan gratis kan, it's like very cheap. You have to kayak kita bikin website gitu loh. All the best website sudah dibook sama orang gitu kan, nanti kalau ada orang yang mau ya tinggal dijual ke dia gitu kan. Jadi this guy is probably a smart guy. He just decided maybe he has like a couple of them. He maybe bought like Coca-Cola.eth, beer.eth or whatever. Habis itu hoki aja gitu. Ada company yang mau beli.
Ada company yang mau beli karena basically want to part of the marketing gitu kan saya.
Ya, jadi kan karena ini misalnya ini kan jadi a marketing attempt kan. Jadi orang yang mungkin ya they drink alcohol, they like beer, they see this, mungkin mereka jadi pengennya beli Budweiser karena merasa wah gue into NFTs, they're into NFTs too.
Ya.
Misalnya kayak Visa bought a CryptoPunk, right? Juga. And I think that was the same attempt.
Oke, ya. Jadi memang.
Tapi kalau launching NFT sendiri belum make sense ya sih.
Oke, interesting. Ini kok juga baru tahu. Jadi basically NFT sekaligus you got the wallet address basically gitu kan.
Yeah. So you buy it and then you can connect it to your wallet address if you want to. Harusnya gue mulai beli-beliin ya, kayak realestate.eth gitu ya. Gue bisa beli-beli nih kayak misalnya realestate.eth, banking.eth gitu kan. Masalahnya those address already exist in there.
Jadi kalau kita mau ngerubah yang itu di mana ya toolnya?
ENS. I think it's ens.domain.com. I'm checking. ens.domains. Yeah.
Okay.
ens.domains.
Oh, I see. Ya. Interesting. Jadi basically, kalau misalnya gue mau bikin sendiri juga bisa gitu ya, main.
Bisa. So you can make your own address, and you
And then
pay, you pay.
0.09 ini.
Ya, harganya tergantung years-nya berapa lama you want to keep it. Jadi you cannot
Oh,
keep it
bener-bener
forever.
kayak
You have to pay
website sih.
maintenance. Ya.
Ya. For 2 years 0.09.
Ya.
Gila, cuma gini aja terus orang bisa jual bir.
Ya, kalau yang sukses ya.
Ya. Memang transfer banget sih.
Ya, keren sih. So if you wanna look like an OG, you can buy this. Kelihatan dari kayak professional lah gitu.
Ya. Basically, which is ini mau for commercial purpose juga lumayan work sekali karena orang kan lebih, soalnya banyak orang yang ini kan nggak apa sih ini angka-angka jelas nggak susah percaya gitu loh, nggak jelas. Tapi kalau udah dalam bentuk kayak nama gini kan orang kadang lebih comfort ya.
Yeah. Really cool.
Interesting. Hey guys, mungkin terakhir kalau teman-teman ada tanya atau enggak ya? Kalau masih ada mau tanya, feel free. Gue udah apa sih, ini udah hampir 1 jam. Oke. Biasanya kalau di Zoom ini banyak yang malu-malu nih kayaknya. Ini ada si teman kita nih yang tanya. How do you think this OGPFP project will get affected? Ada yang mau tanya ya tadi? Sorry. Kok kalau NFT itu kita tahu min gimana ya? Oh, kalau mau min biasanya di Discord ya, guys. Ada apa yang tanya? Kapan minnya, pre-sale-nya itu semuanya ada di Discord. Ada yang tanya ikutin Fat Ape Club nggak ya? Gua nggak ikutin sih. You follow it?
No. Gue udah 3 minggu belum beli NFT nih. 3-4 minggu gue belum ngapa-ngapain.
Sama gue juga take a break for 2 weeks sih. Capek mata gue.
Taking a break, semuanya lagi slow.
Ya, ini mungkin kalau just a bit background aja buat teman-teman yang mungkin nggak tahu Discord. Jadi sih basically kalian tinggal masuk ke dunia di Discord ini ya. Jadi kalau di Discord itu semua ada announcement-nya. Jadi ini another thing yang menurut aku juga menarik. For Boss, ini banyak project-projectnya dari Kongs member, Kongs community. Buat orang-orang biasanya ini mungkin I think teman-teman yang suka pet ya. I think ini For Boss ini buat community yang benar-benar sama pet ya. Dan nanti di sini kalian juga bisa staking dan dapat utility tokennya dapat namanya first. Nah, kalau Kongs kita ada sendiri juga Kongs. Nah, semuanya ada di sini. Nah kalau
sekarang itu menurut gue sedikit unfortunate sih, karena di mana it's actually less about the project tapi more about who's buying. Harga naik tuh less about the project but more about who's buying. Misalnya kalau yang beli itu kayak OG collector gitu kan, kita bisa lihat misalnya yang beli itu banyak OG Kongs beli gitu kan, itu udah pasti dual, ya kan. Jadi it's almost like you have to research not on the project itself, tapi you're researching on who is buying this project and why. Ya kan? Jadi kayak kita
follow the smart money lah basically.
Ya, jadi kita actually lebih ngikutin. They're not really smart money, they're too big to fail. Habis itu, that's the truth gitu. Kayak I don't think some are obviously definitely very very smart. Tapi that's not the case all the time. Ya kan? Unfortunately kayak emang ada beberapa collector yang the community really looks up to. Dan kalau mereka beli, pasti everyone beli dan harganya mau naik seperti apapun juga naik. That's not always the case. Bisa juga ada beberapa proyek yang memang marketingnya jauh banget, harganya bisa bagus. Seperti let's say, what is that called? Yang kayak Gundam gitu, apa? Metaverse. Mechaverse itu
Yeah.
kan kayak nggak ada influencer kayaknya yang beli ya, nggak ada top collectors juga yang beli. Tapi waktu pada saat keluar itu kan kayak gila trailernya keren banget.
Yeah.
Sampai semuanya beli. So it's both I guess. Tapi ya, tapi lebih reliable beli barang yang top collectors beli. Harganya biasanya lebih stabil. Kalau yang ya, go ahead.
Kalau for I'd say gini. Oke. NFT yang bisa dikategorikan blue chip itu kayak apa aja ya?
Wah, to be honest, that's a very hard question. I don't know, karena blue chip di NFT itu masih bisa turun 50% ya harganya. Jadi I don't know if that's a blue chip or not. Kalau blue chip kayaknya harusnya harganya nggak turun 50% deh. So there's that, obviously. Tapi I think I'll categorize blue chip in the sense where I believe it'll last forever. Gitu ya. Mungkin selamanya at least exist gitu ya, nggak mati ke nol. Gitu ya.
Which is itu yang model Punk and BYC in your view?
Yeah, I'm very conservative sih. Maksudnya kayak I would probably just categorize kalau profile picture itu mungkin cuma kayak Pong, CryptoPunk sama Bored Ape ya. Yang lain actually itu masih kayak question mark ya. Actually even I also like to maybe one point is kalau udah masuk Christie's or Sotheby's. Karena it's a stamp of approval from the outside of the NFT world. Jadi misalnya kayak Bored Ape sama unfortunate sih actually karena kenapa kok stamp of approval dari outside world seperti Sotheby's sama Christie's, tapi that's the reality, ya kan? How does the stamp of approval dari mereka kan actually pasti lebih legit ya. Dan kayak profile picture baru Bored Ape sama CryptoPunks ya so far. I'm sure maybe CyberPunks and Coolcat is next. Yeah, tapi I don't know. Does that consider as blue chip?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Mungkin top 3 memang satu yang bisa dikategorikan blue chip Punk, BYC, dan Kong. Memang Kong is the king for utility lah ya, one of the OG one juga. Kalau BYC and Punk kan memang lebih kayak stats symbol and more on the art, lebih strongnya di sana. Tapi kalau yang utility-nya lebih strongnya di Kong. Jadi I think itu sih yang
Tapi Kong bener menurut gue kayak for me ya, gue lihat Kong itu sure some people see the utility. Tapi menurut gue emang CyberPunks itu keren. Yeah, it's like maksudnya kayak it's one of the first projects juga gitu. It's not the first, but it's one of the first. It has a good story behind it. It actually harganya dulu sempat naik, sempat turun, harus sempat di revamp, harus dibikin token, habis jadi successful lagi. So it has a very very interesting storyline that makes you want to own the NFT for what it is. Bukan hanya because it provides bananas. Sure, it provides bananas. But like for me, like I would love to if I did buy Kong a long time ago, which I didn't, bego banget. Tapi if I did, sekarang sih udah nggak bisa afford. Let's say if I did, I mean I would definitely rock it, gitu, as my profile picture, and I'll be very proud. Not because just because of the bananas, tapi karena because it's actually is one of the most wanted NFTs out there.
Yeah, Genesis Kong.
Iya, maksudnya kayak gila, ini keren banget.
Ini ada yang tanya, gue tak terlalu dulu memang juga sempat baca setiap tapi aku nggak ngikutin banget. Mau komik nggak ya? Ini ada yang tanya. Punk komik.
Ya, I have gue Punk komik lumayan banyak. Tapi gue nggak pernah jual. Sometimes that's the world ya.
Ini kayak ibaratnya kayak ini ya, apa model Marvel-nya ya. Is it like?
Yeah, Punk's comic is very weird project in my opinion. Karena I mean, so in general, Punk's comic historinya kan mulainya dari jualan komik pasti. Waktu jual pun nggak sold out di awal-awal. Sold out itu lama banget. And I think it's only after a while itu baru mereka mulai mikirin additional utility-nya. Nah, for what it is today, mereka kan rencananya super ambitious ya. Mereka kan mau bikin gaming in this Planet DAO system. Habis itu, they wanna they want to make so many planets. They want to make a pay-to-earn game possibly, but it's still a very raw plan. Do you follow the Planet DAOs at all?
Yeah, I did buy one of the Planet DAO.
Okay. Let's say Planet DAO, if it's all sold out, it's like a few $100 million, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's their ambitious goal to make an amazing game, but we don't know how it's gonna look like. All we know is Punch Comic 2 run by a it's probably one of the best teams that you can find in the NFT world.
Yeah,
that's all sih.
Ya, kalau gua ngeliat ininya sih lumayan keren dia. Nanti juga pasti dia bikin game kan arahnya ke sana dan dia bisa your DAO planetnya nanti bisa mint another avatar gitu kan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ya, paling interesting gamenya lah. The fact that they have a really, orang mau mulai game kan, budget berapa sih? Let's say 5 million, 10 million gitu kan. But they have a really, really big war chest to build a game. And that's what makes it interesting. Absolutely, they promise that if you own the Planet DAOs, you own Punks Comic, you burn it into a Moon DAO, you own the Founders DAO, right? You'll be able to own a part of this game that they're making, gitu kan?
Yeah.
That's yang paling interesting sih ya. But you really don't know. Bisa aja game kepaya banget.
Yeah. Tapi dia lumayan agak lama ya kalau gue lihat development-nya ya.
Menurut gue all legitimate things development-nya lama. Like,
gitu.
Kayak gue lihat kayak I don't follow the gaming tokens. I'm sure people in this chat, some of them are probably much more knowledgeable than me in this. Tapi misalnya kayak Illuvium gitu kan. I mean, it's been so long. Belum ada game yet. To build a game in general is something that is very demanding, time-consuming, and a very tough, very hard. Jadi, I don't think people should be impatient. I think kalau games pasti udah harus sabar lah. Nggak mungkin deh kayak bentar jadi.
Halo, Ko.
Yes. Siapa nih?
Boleh nanya? Teru.
Teru, gimana?
Iya. Kak Cipta ini jadi sebagai flipper doang atau gimana ya di OpenSea?
Flipper
itu interesting. Buat trade doang atau just a trade?
Flipper gitu ya. Yeah, I mean, I do both. I think there are some things that's like misalnya kayak karena for me kayak CryptoPunk gue udah nggak mungkin pasti gue own one lah. Whether I flip or I keep, pasti gue own one. Kan kalau gue jual juga pasti gue beli lagi gitu, nggak mungkin gue nggak beli lagi.
Apakah di OpenSea aja atau ada platform lain?
Nggak sih, gue cuma di OpenSea sih sekarang. Kecuali CryptoPunk is not on OpenSea, it's on Lava Labs. Tapi sisanya gue di OpenSea aja sih.
Oke. Gue juga mau sharing aja sih. Soalnya ini gue tertarik banget sama NFT. Dan kebetulan kan gue kelahiran 90-an kan. Dari dulu kan suka koleksi kartu-kartu kayak Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh. I think it will be very interesting kalau ada company gede yang bisa masuk kayak let's say Pokemon, masuk ke NFT, terus kita bisa collectible Pokemonnya, kita bisa trading card game. Kayak kita bisa tahu TCG aja bisa bertahan sampai 10 tahun lebih kan. Sampai sekarang pun masih ada gitu trading card game Pokemon. And then
do you know NBA Top Shot by the way?
Yeah, I know. Tapi hype-nya udah lumayan turun sih. Kayak teman gue yang udah join udah pada exit sekarang.
Oh gitu ya?
Iya udah pada exit. Karena udah mulai hype-nya udah mulai kurang kan.
Iya. Itu waktu awal-awal tahun sih gilanya.
Iya benar. Dan Metaverse, I think it will be interesting karena gue ngeliat di videonya yang Mark Zuckerberg itu kan dia bakal bikin Metaverse home kan. Jadi kita punya rumah digital masing-masing yang kita bisa pasang lukisan, bisa pasang furniture digital. Mungkin itu akan semuanya NFT berikutnya.
Mungkin nggak tahu deh. Mungkin kalau Facebook semuanya centralized juga sih.
Iya itu banyak kalau dari kalangan anak-anak ini agak skeptis sama Facebook jadi banjok ya.
Iya. Dan Facebook Libra-nya itu jalan nggak sih? Koinnya dia tuh?
Gue nggak ngikutin Libra loh.
Wah, gue juga nggak tahu.
Nggak pernah ngikutin. I think selama gini ya, the essence kalau gue tangkap sih orang yang sudah early adopter di crypto di decentralized they do not care about any centralized yang bikin produk. They don't care.
True.
Like they just don't believe it sih. Karena you are centralized. Why should I buy you? Gitu.
Betul. Sama tadi statementnya ke Coach Cipta sih bener banget. Sebenarnya ya kita we are in the policy game. Tapi ya banyak banget yang masih nggak mau mengakui itu kan sebenarnya. Apalagi kalau kita ngomong di grup pasti langsung di kick gitu sama adminnya. Langsung jadi
fathers. Itu yang bot itu ngebot kali.
Botnya ya.
Iya. Tapi keren banget sih, thank you banget sharingnya nih Ko Herman sama Coach Cipta. Oke, thank you.
Udah 1 jam lebih lewat nih, sorry. Kita as a family juga harus time gitu. And by the way, thank you banget loh, Cipta.
Thank you, bro.
Any closing remark from you? Let's say any tips or what?
Not much. I mean, it's NFTs is what it is. Kalau ada yang baru mau masuk ke NFT, it's certainly it can be an opportunity for you to make money, to have fun, to collect some things. Tapi just remember, NFTs at the end of the day, it's a very high risk environment there. Actually, I think we've seen. I think semua orang yang udah di sini more than a month, harganya tuh bisa, it can pump and it can dump. It is what it is.
Great. Thank you, Cipta.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you.
Bro. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. See you next time.
Of course.
Every chance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Bye bye.
Cheers, everybody. Bye.
Have a good weekend, guys. Thank you. Bye.